Greetings. Today I want to speak to you concerning the only sin that there is in this world. Or in other words, the only fundamental sin that there is in this world. And that sin is amnesia, a state of forgetfulness. In other words, it's ignorance. Ignorance of knowing who you are. So, as I said before, each and every one of us was born in this world in a state called amnesia, which is a state of forgetfulness. So there's no one who can tell you something that they remember when they were 1 day old, or when they were 1 week old, or when they were 1 month old, or when they were 6 months, or 12 months old, or even 24 months old. They cannot remember because we're born in this state of forgetfulness. And so we see Abdullah the Black Mystic from Ethiopia. He was teaching Neville Goddard that it was because of amnesia why the Bible was misinterpreted to a people to make them believe that the Bible is literal and that the Bible is secular history. But he corrected that philosophy and showed him that the Bible is a book of mind science and should be interpreted psychologically. Therefore, my brothers and my sisters, I want to say to you that when you believe sin is something different than ignorance, then you would remain in ignorance. Because common sense will teach you that the universal question of life is, who am I? And when the answer comes, it must start with I am. And you can never say I am without referring to yourself. And the very Bible that was misinterpreted to you, it says that the name of God is I am from generation to generation. And Moses actually means to be born or to be taken out of the water. So you're born in a world whereby your body is a slave to your mind. And your circumstances can either free you or enslave you. Therefore, you are the one who have to understand how to free yourself from everything that is keeping you in limiting beliefs. So ignorance will keep a people in a superstitious and religious mentality. And so we see Abdullah was correcting this religious and superstitious mentality, but he was doing it through the language of symbology. So we see he played out the drama with Neville Goddard. And when we look at Neville Goddard and his ancestry, we see that Neville Goddard, his family ancestry, would have owned slaves. And these people who were enslaved, they were taught to believe in a God or a savior or a redeemer outside of themselves. And this savior happens to look like the slave master. So this was a deliberate act to keep up people in mental slavery. But here we see there was one by the name of Abdullah who had the key to break this curse of mental slavery by answering the question of what is sin. So my brothers, my sisters, if you live in this world and you do not know that your real identity is your divinity, then you would be captured in things like racism, and you will get captured in things like inferiority complex, and you would speak about supremacy and give supremacy to others when you have that supremacy in you, because you have that same power and everyone have the same power. Okay, you would realize also that there's no hierarchy. You would realize that there is no aristocracy. The only aristocracy there is that of the spirit. So you must be able to break that colonial mentality. So when we look at the whole drama between Abdullah and Neville Goddard, we see Neville Goddard grew up in a country where most of the people have a colonial mentality. So we were seeing that Abdullah was bringing the answer to destroy a colonial mentality, which constitute a religious mentality and a miseducation mentality, because the people have been miseducated in the schools to believe that when they get good grades, it's going to give them a good job. But the bench was for us imagine, the book was for us imagine, the pen, the pencil, all of these things were for us imagine, the blackboard was for us imagine, even the building that they refer to as school, that was for us imagine. It was for us a thought, it was for us an idea, it was for us imagine. So it will always seem like there's a people on the earth that is far, far ahead and far more advanced than another set of people. And all of this is systematic slavery. And so answering the question, of sin is what really opened up the door to show you that you've been living your life in idolatry, looking outwardly, believing in the greatest lie that have been ever fed to all of humanity, which is the Jesus and Mary story, whereby they interpret that story to you as if it is literal and as if it is secular history. And whether you agree or disagree with me, you can never disprove my experience of the birth from my skull, which is the real true virgin birth. And you can never disprove the fact that I can go throughout that Bible and prove it to you from the Bible itself that the virgin birth is a sign, and that sign is a birth from above that can take place with a man or a woman. So for many years, people have been lied to, people have been brainwashed and deceived. But I'm here to say that none is superior. All of us use the one and same power. Therefore, you must believe in yourself. Every time you look in the mirror, you are to see the image of the Creator. You're supposed to see the image of the Savior. You're supposed to see the image of the Redeemer. Therefore, you have to be a fool to look in the mirror and see the image of a black man and believe a white man to be a savior, or your Lord, or your master. That's the reason why you look around and you see every nation, whether is it the Chinese or the Japanese or the Indians or whoever they are, their savior looks just like them. But when it comes to black people, they have an image of a savior that doesn't even look like them, and expect people like myself to accept such stupidity and expect someone like me to compromise in speaking of what Abdullah was really saying to the language of symbology, where his relationship is concerned with Neville Goddard. You know, there are people, when it comes to Neville, they have their own agenda and it must always be about Neville. But no, the teacher always must be the one who's more aware and enlightened than the student. And the student is only a reflection of the teacher. So everything people is alluding to Neville Goddard and trying to hide the fact that it all came from a black man. All of that is self-deception. Yet people are claiming that they are conscious. People are claiming oneness. And that's why I did a video called Freedom is Equality. Okay, and it's not until a person really free themselves from mental slavery that they will be able to understand equality. Because the greatest sin in this world is not knowing who you are. And our ancestors have been always teaching, man, know thyself. So in short, all of the teachings of Neville Goddard that people are alluding to Neville and even using techniques and says Neville Goddard techniques, all of these teachings can be traced right back to ancient Africa, all the way back to Ethiopia and all of those places. And you would see that our ancestors have been always teaching our people to live very close to nature and to believe in themselves, to love themselves and to embrace themselves. Even on the grave, they will leave the message, man, know thyself. So this message is basically a message saying you have to know who you are and do not get caught up in false identity. You're not black, you're not white, you're not a Chinese, you're not a Japanese, you're none of that. You are pure consciousness. You're pure consciousness. And when you tap into that consciousness and you know who you are, you will know that definitely you are the creator. You are the Lord and Master of your own destiny. Because you realize that thoughts become things. And you realize that it is your own thoughts that are creating your personality and creating your reality. You will know that as a man thinketh in his subconscious mind, so is he. So you would get rid of idolatry and come out of all form of stupidity. So it's time for people to wake up and get out of the sin of not knowing who they are. That's the only fundamental sin that there is in this world. And that is what Abdullah wanted to teach Neville Goddard. And use the language of symbology for all of us to see. This is your time of liberty. This is your time that you must go free. That's the reason why they have an agenda, a pandemic agenda. But it's time for you to know exactly who you are. So with that being said, my brother and sister, I want to thank you very much for listening to me. I want to say to you, if this is the very first time that you listen to me and what I'm saying, it makes sense to you and it really resonates with you and you have no false identity, then I'm saying to you, then feel free to like, subscribe, comment, or to share this video. Also, if you feel strongly led to follow me on TikTok or to follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Black Mad Guru. And if you feel led to support this work, always remember we have a PayPal and the link is down below. Also, I have a Patreon community that I definitely would like to invite you to be a part of. There's a lot of good work that is there to help you to grow and to expand. And I have a course there that is called the Inner Sun Science and Technology to Create Your Reality Consciousness. And it's all about you getting more in alignment with nature and knowing that there's a sun that is within you, that light that is within you, and get more in touch with your solar plexus so that your brain will be able to send that message to your solar plexus and activate your every desire, and that your desire will become your reality. Okay? Especially if you can bring your desire into the equivalent of money. Okay? So if you feel strongly led to check it out, feel free to do so. And if you do so, always feel free to ask questions if there's any question that need to be asked. So with that being said, my brother and my sister, I want to say peace. Love you all. Out.